Alright, what I'm going to show you guys how to do is how to do glazing to make something in surrealism look as if it's somewhat realistic. So what I did was I started out with base tones down here and laid in some basic shadow work by blending back and forth with red and white, just to get kind of an overall idea of what shadows I wanted. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with dark red and a little bit of black added to it. And I'm going to come in and start doing some deeper shadows. Now looking at this shadow looks a bit on the dark side, so while it's still wet I'm going to actually get some more pure red and I'm going to blend out the edge. And if you want, what you can do is you can use a little bit of water and smooth out that transition between your whatever your base tone is and your darker value. Almost treating it like a watercolor, but with a watercolor that you can actually put highlights on. Right? So, well, I got this dark red mixed. I'm going to go ahead and put in the shadowing on the darker parts of these lollipop-like branches that I have. I'm just kind of laying in the darks. And you can use a little bit of water on the brush, just don't go crazy with it. It'll make the paint smoother. I made the top of this tree look like a little twisty, so I'm going to go ahead and put the shadows in there too. And you can look at your reference and see where the darks and shadows should lie. I'm obviously making this up as I go. Alright, so I finish shadowing in this trunk here. With surrealism, it's kind of important that you do smooth blends if you can, because we want to make it look somewhat realistic. I mean, it should still look like a painting, but alright, once you get the shadows laid in, you can then come in and start popping some highlights with, in this situation I'm using pure white, which is okay, because as you can see, it's somewhat transparent, so you can see the pink underneath, or the red. So it still comes off as monochromatic even though I'm using pure white. So I'm just laying in the highlights opposite the shadows at this point. So if someone's got a shadow on one side and a highlight in the other. I'm going to go ahead and pop little highlights on these spheres on the end of my branches here. Alright, so that's the basic technique there. What I could do, what I'm seeing here, is I could come back with a little bit of darker values. Some of the areas once it's dry, so I'm going to come in and put in a nice dark red to really make the side of this little drill bit that I did pop, and then I'm going to just come and blend it down using a little bit of the side of the brush because there's a little bit of water left in there. I'm going to come in and darken some of these under branches just to give them a little bit more contrast. whenever you use black, you always want to dip it in the red too, or whatever color is your dark color. So if I were doing monochromatic blue, or if I were doing, you know, complementary with red and green, if I were making a shadow on a green object and I were using black, I'd always want to dip it back in the green too. Alright, so that's the idea. And these examples will be hanging in the classroom if you need to get a closer look at them.